There's this really weird pattern that every single Minecraft SMP seems to follow. It starts with hype, there's a massive trailer, everyone's online, this base is popping up everywhere, and the Discord is doing really well, and you have applications flooding in. And then after a few weeks, it's just pure silence. I've seen this happen for over 10 years now because, you know, I'm getting on, I'm 25. I've joined so many servers, I've ran them myself, I've watched them blow up, I've watched them burn down, and after seeing it so many times, I think it's finally time we should talk about why. Now, before we get into this isn't me taking shots at anyone or saying that nobody can run a server. There are plenty of examples of really good servers out there. Some that have run for years and some that have naturally ended on good terms or people outgrowing servers, and that's perfectly fine. This is mainly for me to cover the ones that fade away and kind of just go into the background and into oblivion. So before I talk about why SMPs fail, I think it's worth pointing out how much the term SMP has changed over the years. Back in the early days when I was a young kid, SMPs were basically just survival servers like Hermitcraft or Minecraft. And if you guys know what Minecraft is, then you're a real OG and I appreciate that. There were no scripts, there were no PvP, just people making cool stuff. Then in 2020, Dream SMP came along and basically changed the game entirely. After that, we got servers like Lifesteal, Donut SMP, and all of a sudden SMPs became more competitive, more PvP heavy, and more content driven. And honestly, that shift wasn't a bad thing. The SMP area of YouTube had kind of become quite stale at that point, and SMPs were just dying. Now the word SMP can genuinely mean anything. In my mind, it just doesn't sound the same, and I just think of a private server whenever I kind of talk about it. So when I say the term SMP here and I discuss this, I'm on about content-heavy SMPs here for content creators. This can also include and extend to PvP-heavy things and lifesteal. I know there's plenty of servers out there that have specific abilities and things like this that are content-heavy, and a lot of these problems do translate. I'm just speaking from my experience. Obviously, as well, with there now being so many different kinds of styles of SMPs that you can find, it's just becoming harder and harder to find a server that actually fits what you want. And that is just one of the problems in itself. But looking for a server for myself, for example, is becoming so much more difficult because if you look up SMPs to join on YouTube, a lot of these now are public servers or PvP heavy, and they're not the traditional SMP experience, which is just one small part of the jigsaw here that we're going to unpack. Right from the start, we can just clarify that the SMP space is messier than ever, and that the concept is kind of broken. SMP has now become a general term, so finding a content server now becomes searching for a content-specific server. One of the big reasons that SMPs fail is because they don't have a clear purpose. A lot of SMPs start with the same pitch of we are a group of creators making content together, which is a cool idea, but it's not actually a purpose. That's just a sentence that people say before they realize that they don't actually have a plan. You need a reason that players are going to log on. Do you have events, storylines, collabs? Are you going to have custom structures, custom world generation? What exactly makes your server different to someone logging on to a survival world and just opening it to LAN with a couple friends? The first week will always go great because you have people online. But after people have played for a week, why are they logging on? If they've built, they've recorded, and they've collabed, all of a sudden that energy's gone. The Discord will slow down, people will lose interest, and all of a sudden, within 3 weeks, the server is empty, and you've got the same 3 people coming on to play all the time. And honestly, this issue actually doesn't normally come down to the players. It comes down to the leadership. You need someone behind the scenes that's going to keep things fresh, constantly planning, scheduling, and encouraging people. Without that, you're not really going to make the magic happen, and it isn't going to make itself. Now, this kind of ties into my next point, which is the game progression loop. The first event that servers normally have is going to the Nether, and then the next one after that is normally going to the end. Now, those are 2 very good checkpoints and main things that people aim towards, but everyone has a different play style and play pace. Now, this is obviously something that should be decided before the server actually launches. And I've been on servers before where they say The nether will be in a week or in 2 weeks, and that keeps people close to spawn, which is great for content. But they then refuse to set a date on the end. And this is actually quite limiting because you don't know when you need to be ready for, and you don't know when you're going to get your hands on a elytra. But Minecraft's progression loop is very, very stale if you've been playing the game for as long as I have. And going down in the mines, getting full diamond and coming back up, you're normally done within 3 hours or less. Most people are doing it in less now because, you know, as I said before, I'm getting old. Now, obviously, this is very specific and down to the server. You know, if you're a PvP heavy server, you probably want people kitted up quickly and going to the nether so they can get potions and all of these different things. And it's very dependent on the server. But this is where a lot of servers fail. They don't make these goals transparent and they don't let their players know when these things are going to happen. And it leads to burnout and frustration. And players sometimes don't want to commit to playing if they don't know when they're going to be able to travel out and start working on their mega projects, because nobody wants to just stay in spawn for 6 months. Obviously, I know I'm exaggerating there, but it's a good example of if you don't know the date of when you're going to be doing this end fight, why are you going to stick around? But yeah, the progression loop is a massive issue, and a lot of servers just kind of overlook this and don't really think about how it could affect the player standpoint, and they only really think about it from an overall server view. And that kind of leads into my next point of recruitment. Now, this one is absolutely huge because it just ties everything together. You could have the best concept of a server ever, and if you have the wrong players, it's going to fail regardless of who the owner is, how much money is thrown at it, what hardware you've got, what the concept is. It will fail if you do not have the right players. Now, this is 100% the main reason why servers fail. They get the wrong players for the wrong reasons, and some owners just chase the numbers, or they want the big names, or they want friends, or friends of friends to make the server look active. But you need players that fit in, and you need to have a specific recruitment strategy or plan. Now, from my personal experience, and this is where I've always done quite well on recruitment for me, I never accept somebody straight off of a typed application. I would always speak to somebody in a voice call for at least 15 to 20 minutes beforehand and make sure that I think they're a good fit. Someone could easily throw your questions for their application into ChatGPT and just have it thrown out and just give you whatever you want to hear. You need to think of an SMP as a bit of a TV show. Every video and every stream, it all adds up to how the server is seen. If you have one controversial person on your server, it can absolutely decimate your public image and nobody will want to join you. You just need one bad egg and it's ruined. And the whole idea of any publicity is good publicity. It's just a lie. Just please ignore anyone that says that. It might get the name out there, but if the name's out there for the wrong reasons, you don't want that out there. You just don't. Like, what? Why would you want your server to be associated with a bad name? Like, what? Think, people, please. Another thing within recruitment in itself is age and maturity, and this is a huge point that a lot of people just don't understand. Think about what age range you want your players to be. If you're an 18 plus server, go with 18 plus. If you're under the age of 18, be realistic and think about where you want your maturity to be. If you have a young group of players, an older player isn't actually going to be suitable for you guys because they're not going to get your jokes or your humor, and it's just not really going to work out very well. It's a very small thing, and I could go on a whole tangent and a rant about it, but it's just a very small detail that a lot of people really do forget. So just think about the age range that you're getting as players in your server. Now, this one is much more close to home for me personally, but burnout and unrealistic content requirements is a huge thing for servers these days. A lot of SMPs expect you to upload 1 to 2 videos a month. Now, when I first was joining SMPs when I was younger, it was like 1 video a week, and I'm so happy that the expectation has dropped quite a lot. Don't get me wrong, this does sound like a reasonable requirement, but it's not for everyone. If someone joins your server and they do really quick-paced content and they turn 20 hours worth of gameplay into a 10-minute video, expecting them to be able to play that much and put 2 videos out a month is unrealistic. If somebody prefers to do big projects, Getting one video a month out for them is actually still going to be a challenge. That is a lot of content to put out and a lot of playtime that they've got to do. And yes, you can say, yeah, but they're playing 10 hours a week. Yeah, but they still have to edit the video. And editing the video means they have to go back through that 10 hours of footage. So whatever their playtime is, assume that the editing time is double that. Now, obviously, you don't want to have players that just don't upload whatsoever, but that's just one thing that you just kind of have to combat and kind of get the right people in for. But another little thing that I always don't understand is a lot of servers don't actually count streams as content. I don't know why. Personally, whenever I stream and I'm playing on a server, I actually normally interact with more people. We're all having a laugh. We're kind of just content farming and having a good joke. You can then just make content for other people by appearing at their place and be like, hey, yo, what's up? How you doing? And just doing little things like that. Interactions between players don't need to be planned. They can be organic. That's why I love having in-game voice chat. Also, double standards really don't help. I've actually been on a server where staff had such relaxed requirements for specific people, and it's either their friends or just bigger creators. And I've even been in a server where there's been someone that hasn't uploaded in 9 months, and they were kept on the server because they were going to, big quotes here, carry the server to fame. Meanwhile, other smaller creators were getting kicked for missing one upload a month. That kind of bias just completely kills motivation for people, and if staff are judging other people's content output, then they should at least be setting the example themselves. If you're not uploading, you can't tell others that they have to as well. Now, staying on the conversation of leadership and bad management, this is probably going to annoy a few people, but it's definitely true. Some people just shouldn't run SMPs. Now, I'm not going to tell you if you should or shouldn't, but I think you need to think about what you want from a server. And if you are only going to run a server because you want to play with other people, you shouldn't run it. Running a server isn't just starting a world and inviting some friends. It's managing people, planning events, handling the funding of the actual server, and resolving issues. It's actual work. You need some technical know-how about what you're going to be doing to actually be able to solve things quickly, and a lot of owners underestimate that. They think it'll all be fun until the responsibility comes in, and then they disappear for 2 weeks because they have burnout and they're not enjoying it anymore. I've seen it all. I've seen owners vanish mid-season. I've seen servers close because the owners just stopped paying for it. And I've also seen owners who make everything a group vote because they don't want to actually lead. Running a good SMP is basically like running a small team or a company. Now, it's not as serious, it's not as devastating, don't get me wrong, but you need to have structure, communication, and consistency, and not just enthusiasm to run it. It's a lot of responsibility and a lot of effort, and a lot of people don't understand that. Another reason a lot of SMPs fail is lack of effort. Now, this one is really simple, and it's not just specifically down to staff and owners, it's down to the players as well. You get out of a server what you put in. If people stop logging on, if staff stop planning things, if Discord goes quiet, that's it. It's over, all the momentum is gone, it isn't coming back. Now, you don't need a huge event every week, and you don't need everyone on every single week to participate in a group session. But just do little things, have meetings, casual calls, little group challenges, or just community goals between people. Comment on each other's videos and really push yourself in the algorithm. If you don't do that, you're going to lose motivation, you're not going to have nearly as much fun as you wanted to, and overall people will just stop putting in the effort because they won't see growth and they won't get enjoyment out of it. I've seen so many people have the philosophy of, I won't log on because nobody else is on. If you're thinking like that, I can guarantee you the other half of the server are also thinking the same thing. Be the person that logs on, push people, bring these things up in calls and meetings, talk about activity. Don't complain about it silently, talk to the whole community. Try and arrange recording sessions or come up with little mini events or content ideas that you can do. It doesn't entirely fall on the staff team. They should give you credit if you have worked on something and you've put your sweat and blood and tears into it, but you should also be trying to make content for yourself and for others. You've got to be a team player. If you sign up for a group server, an SMP, where multiple people are there, You should be doing things that involve multiple people. It's kind of in the name, right? And finally, one of the biggest problems is ego. Now, I'm not on about anyone specific here. I'm not on about server owners or players or anything like that. But the amount of servers that just collapse because creators clash or start arguing about who's getting more views, who's building more, who's carrying the server, who is online the most. It's ridiculous. Every single server that has ever done well, people don't care about who is the best on the server. They care about the server doing well and helping everyone else grow. Ultimately, a server is there for other people to connect together, to network, and do collabs. It doesn't matter who's getting the most views. If you start to have those problems as a server owner, you should remove that person because they're just going to piss everyone else off. Now, I do also just want to say that not every SMP ends in failure. Sometimes a project does just run its course, and that's fine. Not everything can last forever. After over 10 years of being a part of the SMP space on YouTube, it's not servers that fail, it's the people behind them that stop caring. The idea of an SMP still works, it always will, it's easy to do. Now, it may go up and down in popularity, the main thing you need is the right people and the right mindset, and a reason to keep going. And with that said, that's why I personally believe a lot of Minecraft SMPs fail from my experience. If you guys have enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like, join my Discord down below, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. See you in a bit.